Hello, everybody. Dr. Rick Wallace here, dropping in on you on Monday. For some of you, this is the day that you get your week started off. I hope that you have gotten it started on the right note. Those of you who have listened to me, followed me, or worked with me for any period of time understand that when I say get your week started, your day started, I'm talking about your mindset before you sit down and schedule out your week, what you need to do before you sit down and approach and engage the challenges of the day. You need to have a proper mindset because you are going to face challenges. You're going to face difficulties. You're going to have unexpected challenges and changes that come along, the vicissitudes of life, as I refer to them, those things that you don't know are coming unexpected, but they completely shake up what's happening right now. Those things are going to happen throughout the day. They're going to happen throughout the week. They're going to happen throughout the month. And how you start every day is going to determine how effective you are in engaging those things. One of the things that I teach early on in engaging my clients is how to prime yourself. How do you set your mental state for the day? Because the state that you're in is going to determine the level of energy you're emitting, which then affects the level of energy you're attracting, which determines not only what's coming at you, but how you how you are going to engage it, process it, analyze it, and resolve it. You're going to have challenges. You're going to go through something my grandfather told me a long time ago. Son, you either come going into a storm, in a storm, or coming out of a storm. It's not how you got there. It's not who you want to blame for it, because most of the time you can look at yourself and you in some way have some culpability in it. It's not who you're going to blame. It's what you're going to do about it. He says, when you put yourself in a situation in which you allow the storm to shape you, the challenges to mold you, the difficulties and the delay, the interactions in which harm seems to be coming at you, if you allow it to shape you, strengthen you, refine you, if you exit the storm a better man than when you went in, you've accomplished the goal that you accomplished what the storm was meant to do, and that's to become better, more refined, more prepared, more set. And you won't have to. You won't have to go chasing greatness. You won't have to chase accomplishments. You won't have to chase achievements because they'll overtake you. It's just simply in growing and becoming something better, something more valuable than you were yesterday. You will automatically knock down those dominoes of achievement. Those dominoes and those goals, those things that you look at and aspire to, will come automatically when you desire within yourself to make every day a process of growth. And so how you start the day out, and that's important. Every morning I wake up, I get up. First thing I do differently than most people is I turn off the alarm, which is on my smartphone, and I put it down. I don't touch that phone again for at least another hour, what I call the hour of power. Why? Because I'm a firm believer that when you pick up that phone, you give up or you sell your sovereignty to the data, the information, and the communications that are coming at you on that phone. Did you get this many likes? Because those phones, all smart devices, including the television now, are designed to create dopamine rushes and keep you fixated on them. They are designed to keep you looking at them. They are designed to sit up and pull you towards them. And while they have great uses and they can be used to accomplish and achieve a lot of stuff that we couldn't do in the past, they can also rob you of your time and your personal sovereignty. Your personal sovereignty is that part where you're controlling how you feel, how you think, where you're moving, and how you're operating. The reason that I put so much emphasis on priming and setting your state for the day is because when you start engaging life, when you start engaging your day, there are certain things you won't have control over. They're just simply certain things that are going to happen that are outside the parameters of your direct influence initially. But how you engage those things is going to determine the outcome of your day and the outcome of your destiny over time. Your capacity to sit up and engage life in a way in which you look at it and you take on the challenge and you see possibilities instead of problems, then that's going to determine where you're at. Most people are trained to see problems. Why? Because that's how we are naturally, physically geared, is to find the problem. Why? Finding the problem keeps you alive. If you aren't able to find what's wrong, it could probably kill you. If you can't sense when something's wrong, you won't survive long in the world. So at the very primitive part of our nature, our very core, we're designed to look for things that are wrong. But it's in training and refining your mind. That's what makes us so special as sapiens, is the fact that we can sit up and look at a reality and decide we don't like the reality and make decisions and choices to change it. So you're never, ever in a situation that you don't want to be unless you decide that's where you want to stay. If you want to change it, you have the power to change it. It requires commitment. It requires a willingness to go the distance. It requires first of all, the decision, then the commitment to go the distance, and then massive action that says, I'm going to put everything I have into it until I get the results I want. There are no other options. I'm going to get on the treadmill and I'm going to either get what I want, I'm going to die on the treadmill. It's that simple. And when I look at my life, that's the story of my life. I got on the treadmill and I stayed on there till I got what I wanted. And then I moved to the next treadmill. And my treadmill does have a timer on it. But I don't become frenetic and unglued when I reach the timer. You know, the 90-day goal, the 6-month goal, the year goal. I don't get frenetic and I don't become frenetic and unglued. I don't become frenetic and unglued when I get knocked down. I don't become frenetic and unglued when the people I thought were going to say yes to my funding say no to my funding. I don't get frenetic and I don't become frenetic and unglued when I find out that, you know, this thing is happening over there in my family and that's happening over there in the family. I don't become frenetic and unglued. Why? Because I've been given the power within myself by using my mind and the creative capacity to create, to design and create my reality, to take control of my situation and change it. When I think about the worst thing that could possibly happen in my life, you know, you ask most people, what's the worst thing that could happen? I could die. Well, if I die, it really doesn't matter at that particular point anymore. I've transitioned into another state of existence. So it really doesn't matter. My energy has now gone. I'm no longer in this body. I'm no longer participating in the same way in this particular reality. So it doesn't matter. So I don't even consider death as the worst thing that can happen to me. The worst thing that can happen to me is those that I love, my wife, my kids, my siblings, my immediate family. Something were to happen to them. If I were to lose one, that would be the worst thing that could happen to me. And you sit up and say, that's something you can't control. And you can't say that you don't care. Not becoming frenetic and unglued, not being so shaken that you become dysfunctional, it has nothing to do with not caring. What I sit up is, at this time, when I look at all the losses that I've dealt with, family, friends, the greatest loss I still consider right now is the loss of my adopted father, who was my biological great-grandfather. He played such an integral role in shaping my life and giving me the demand of manhood. And he had become my friend in my adult life. He died when I was 25. It's been 25 years, almost 26 years now. This coming Thanksgiving will be 26 years. And I still feel him in my spirit. But what I had a choice to do was let it break me, let it diminish me, let it make me become dysfunctional. Or I could look at it through a lens that was able to find the positive, not in the death itself, but in the life he lived and the influence he had on my life. I could look at it and say he was here for a time, and I knew from the moment that he came into my life, and I was old enough to understand that I had him for a moment, and I got everything I could out of that relationship, and now he's passed the torch to me. I have a responsibility now to live out what he's given me in my life. I have a responsibility to let his legacy be lived out through me. I am one of the parts of his, or one of the representations of his legacy. Does that make me miss him less? No. Does that make the pain immediately diminish? No. But it gives my life purpose. I found a way to take the negative and put purpose to it and make it work for me. And you've got to be able to do that no matter what you're doing and no matter what you're going for. This is what I can tell you. Right now, I'm at one of the most challenging points in my life. Life is pushing back. I've got a choice, the same choice I've had over and over and over and over again in my life. I can lay down and say, I'm tired. Oh, I get tired. I get emotionally drained. I get psychologically drained. I become spiritually worn. I become physically overwhelmed at times. See, my why is so huge that it won't let me sleep. My why is so huge that it won't let me turn around. My why is so huge that it won't let me give up, surrender, or retreat. My why says get up, stand up, dust yourself off, hold your head up, square your shoulders, and put in the work. You've been here before. You're built for this. You can overcome this. But what if I didn't prep during the day? For the day. What if I woke up and I had carried some of the bad happenings or some of the non-productive thoughts that I went to sleep with? Gotta have an hour of power at night too. Because if you go to bed with that, you tend to think about it, dream about it. It tends to interrupt the true natural progression of sleep, and you don't get the rest you need. You wake up with an attitude. And if you don't interrupt, let me tell you, everything is about patterns. When you get to a point of anger, it was a process of a pattern. When you get to the point of perpetual poverty, it's a part of a pattern. When you get to failed marriage after failed marriage after failed marriage, a failed relationship after failed relationship, it's a pattern. When you get to not being able to hold down a job and not being able to make a business last, it's a pattern. What you have to do is find the negative patterns, interrupt those patterns, disrupt those patterns, replace those patterns with better patterns that produce better results. It's about finding patterns that work for what it is you're trying to do. But if you go to bed at night carrying all of the weight of the day on your shoulder without resolving in yourself that you're built for this, that it's going to work out, that there is an answer to the problem, that what you have in front of you is only going to make you stronger because you're committed to see this thing through to the end, then you can go to bed with a peace, a state of mind. But when you sit up and you allow yourself to go to bed carrying the weight of the world on your shoulders, struggling and trying to figure out how you're going to get it to work, and you go to bed fretting, worried, full of anxiety, and what happens? You wake up with that same stress. And if you don't interrupt the pattern, it will continue throughout the day. What priming does is interrupt any negative patterns and replace them with positive thoughts, high expectations, and an understanding that you are prepared to engage anything that you come in contact with. You have to be willing to do that. This is one of the first techniques I teach. Why? Because if you don't get your day started out right, it shows up at 10 a.m. It shows up at noon. It shows up at 3. Look, every last one of you watching this video at any time, at any point, it doesn't matter what day, time, or year that you watch this video. When you see this video, you must come to an understanding immediately that you have infinite potential. But potential in and of itself is nothing until it has been accessed, activated, and actualized. When it's sitting dormant, it's just potential. But when you decide that you're going to unlock the potential, take access to the potential, activate the potential, meaning start to use it, start to apply it, start to work on it, start to refine it, start to shape it and grow it. Then you activate it, then you actualize it. That means you actually use the potential. Infinite possibilities. There's nothing that you are conceiving in your mind that you desire that you cannot have if you're only willing to access, activate, and actualize the potential that will open up the possibility. Most of us have simply accepted the world we've been given and the parameters that have been placed around our lives and the false sense of security associated with it, and determine that that's our lot in life, that because I didn't know my father, because I was born in poverty, because I was molested as a child, because I didn't do well in school, because. This is my lot in life. I will never be able to do this, this, and this. You have become snared by the words of your own mouth. Wasn't it God that stood up and told Moses to tell them that as they have spoken in my hearing, so shall it be? You have become snared by your own words. You have talked yourself out of prominence. You have talked yourself out of elevation. You have talked yourself out of rising up. You have talked yourself out of breaking free of whatever bondage you've been caught up in. You have talked yourself into addiction. You have talked yourself into poverty. You have to watch yourself talk. I've heard it said, and I share often, that this unbelievable piece of mass between your ears, your brain, is the world's greatest supercomputer. No other computer, man-made computer, can come close to doing what the human brain has the capacity to do. But check this out. Your self-talk, the things you think and say about yourself, is going to be the program your supercomputer runs. If you're always talking about being broke, your supercomputer will fine-tune itself to find every reason why you'll stay that way. You don't get what you say you want, you get what you focus on most. Stop focusing on what you don't have. Start focusing on what you're going to do to get what it is you say you want. No, it ain't easy. I'm telling you now, I'm facing hard challenges, but the one thing I know is I have never lost. And let me explain something too. All of those, no matter what faith you claim, proclaim to be faith warriors. Check this out. You have not entered into the realm of faith until you have exited the realm of reason, rationale, and logic. As long as you can look at it and figure it out within reason and within logic, it doesn't require faith. It simply requires the application of the reason and the logic. It is not until you step out into a world in which you don't now have the answer that you begin to operate on faith. But that's where things happen. See, when you decide that this is what I am going to do with my life, I'm going to start a business. I'm going to be a great parent. I'm going to be an awesome spouse. Wealth comes in all forms. It's not just about money. It starts with a mental presence and an idea of who you are. You manifest the wealth of self in other areas of your life, but it begins within you. When you decide that I'm going to, and nothing's going to stop me. I love the way Les Brown says it. Les Brown says, when you're making that decision to go after something you've never accomplished before, how you're going to do it is none of your business. Why? Why would he say how you're going to do it is none of your business? Here's why. When you make the decision to do something exceptional, extraordinary, phenomenal, something you have never accomplished to this point, it's almost guaranteed that the how is not yet present. Why? Because if you had the expertise, if you had the knowledge, if you had the resources, if you had the capital, if you had the connections, it would already be done. The fact that it hasn't been done yet means there's some work to be done. That means that you may have to study and read some more. You may have to connect with a mentor. You may have to you may have to hire some experts in certain areas. You may have to convince some people of your vision and dream to get them to do things that you may not be gifted at. It may be a bunch of things that you simply don't understand, but what I believe and what I've seen with my own lives, with my own eyes and in my own life, and with my clients and with the clients and the lives of others that I study, what I can tell you is when you make a decision to commit to doing something, you don't have to know how. The moment you commit and you take the first step, the universe begins to conspire on your behalf. And then things that did not exist before exist. The person you walked by 1,000,000 times now stops you, speaks to you, asks you what you're doing. The conversation leads to taking you where you're going. The person you sit next to on the train or the bus all of a sudden strikes up a conversation, and you find out they know somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody. You find out that book that's been sitting on your shelf that somebody sent you 2 years ago that you haven't read is the third epiphany to the idea that you have. Let me explain something to you. It's not until you make a decision to commit to the exceptional, to commit to the extraordinary, to commit to the phenomenal, that providence moves. It ain't faith if you can figure it out. Some of you trying to remain within logic. I'm telling you that you don't achieve phenomenal until you become unreasonable. If the vast majority of the people within your earshot, within your voice, here's the idea you have for your life, the vision you have for your life, that thing that you say you're striving for, and the vast majority of them sit up and say, I can see it. You haven't set the bar high enough. You haven't become unreasonable enough. You're still operating within reason and logic. That doesn't require faith. That simply requires application. It's not until you decide that I'm going to walk on water, whatever that is for you, whatever that is in your life, that you're going to do what other people have said was impossible. I can't remember who it is, and it'll come to me after I get off this video. Nelson Mandela came to me before I got off the video, said everything was once impossible until it was done. Creating a machine that could fly around the world with hundreds of people on it and their luggage and tons of fuel and made out of metal was once impossible. Running the mile in under 4 minutes was once impossible. Communicating on a device that you hold next to your ear and the person you're talking to is nowhere near you, hundreds of miles, thousands of miles away, was once impossible. Sitting down and starting a business on a screen connected to an invisible network at certain times and points without a penny in your pocket was once impossible. Now people are doing it every day. There are no excuses for sitting still and accepting what life throws at you. Examine the possibilities of the potential that you possess. Stop looking at other people as if they've got some advantage that you do not. Start looking at those who are remarkably successful as simply those who refuse to relent, who were willing to go the distance, who decided that they would not accept the world they were given. Muhammad Ali once said that word impossible is simply a big word thrown around by small men who find it more easier to accept the world they are given than to explore the power they have to change. No, as I sit here facing a great challenge of my own that I will conquer. This isn't some bold proclamation that doesn't come from a world and a life of experience. This is coming from someone who has faced adversity time and time again and just decided that I'm not going to live here. I'm going to find a way to make it stronger. It's no different. When you go into the gym, those athletes, those gym rats, those people who put an emphasis on taking care of your body, ride with me for a minute. When you go into the gym, think about when you first hit the gym and you started doing bench presses and squats and whatever exercises, lat pull downs and seated rows and all these different things that work to strengthen the body. And if you were looking to grow or create muscular hypertrophy or whatever it was you were doing, there were certain exercises you could do. But the one thing that if you go back to when it first started, that you can remember is it hurt. It was painful. And then there was this thing that after the pain in the gym was over, if you didn't know how to deal with it, you got what's now known as DOMS, delayed onset muscle soreness. And so then that workout hurt for days. And then you had to get the strength and the wherewithal and the courage to go back in and try that crazy stuff again. But what happened after a while? You started to see results. You got stronger. You were benching more, squatting more, doing more core work, and you were building and getting better. And you started to find out that this discomfort that I'm experiencing leads to something better. I'm finding a way to take the discomfort and grow from it. I'm finding a way to take the discomfort and shape and mold the person I want to be physically. Then it got to the point you start to enjoy the burn. You started to look at it and say, if I'm not getting the burn, I'm not working hard enough. You literally took something that was causing you discomfort and found the positive in it and started to enjoy it because you made an associative connection, a neuroassociative connection to the pain, from the pain to the promise. And when you start learning how to connect your pain to the promise, because if you experience it, it's connected to the promise, but you got to understand that I can't get certain things if I'm not willing to endure certain things. I can't have the things that most people don't have if I'm not willing to do the things that most people won't do. If I want to wake up when everybody else wakes up, if I want to take off when everybody else takes off, if I want to sit up and spin like everybody else spins, if I want to sit up and half-ass give into my relationship with my wife, then I can't expect to have that exceptional thing. You got to learn how to switch your paradigms, the lens through which you view life, how you see the world and how the world impacts you, the paradigm that shapes how you make decisions based on how you interpret events in life. See, some of you have paradigms of victimhood. You see everything from the lens of a victim. Life is happening to you. You don't see that life is responding to you and that it's happening for you. You need to shake up the world around you and create a paradigmatic shift in your life to where you start to see things like Quincy Jones. Quincy Jones was asked not that long ago, how did he navigate through all the racism? How did he navigate through all the different challenges, getting started in the industry at such a young age and then having to move through so many different challenges? How did he deal with all of those problems was the question he was asked. And his response was, I don't have problems. I have puzzles. That paradigm shift in which you see life's challenges not as problems, but as puzzles, immediately, what are puzzles created for? Why are they there? They're there to be solved. The moment you stop seeing your challenge as a problem, start seeing it as a puzzle, now you start to operate and function on a realm of solving the puzzle. Look, I'm not going to stay on any longer, but what I want you to do, what I want you to understand is that life is not happening to you. Stop believing that lie. Stop believing that you're sitting there and you're just a part of something that you have no control of. Life isn't happening to you, it's responding to you. Life is coming back to you in the fruit that have been born from your thoughts and your decisions. Life is coming back to you in your in the way of your expectations and anticipation. Life is bringing to you exactly what you're giving it. What are you demanding of yourself? What are you willing not to accept from yourself? What are you giving the world so that the world has something to give back? What are you giving life so that life has something to give back? You can't harvest where you have not planted, and you cannot harvest what you have not planted. The law of cause and effect, the universal law of cause and effect is always at play. The universal law of mentalism is always at play. You don't fight against what you don't want. You fight for what you want. Let me say that one more time. A lot of you are functioning and being where you're at because you're fighting against what you don't want. You spend way too much time talking about what you don't want, where you're currently at, what you hate, what you don't like, that you talk about it way too much instead of talking about what you're going to do about it, instead of talking about how you're going to change it, instead of talking about the life you're going to live, instead of talking about what's coming. Keep in mind that your non-conscious brain and your subconscious mind cannot tell the difference between what you speak in truth, in imagination, and reality. You could talk about something that ain't there yet, that's negative, and it'll find you. That's the power of the mind. And because the mind, the non-conscious brain, the non-conscious mind, the subconscious mind, the non-conscious brain sees everything now. It has no perception of the past or the future. You can spend your mind in the past and you'll continue to live it. You can spend your mind in the present and you'll continue to live it. Or you can design a new and powerful future and your mind will produce it. That's as simple as I can simplify it in the time frame that I have. Let me say that one more time, then I'm out of here. Your brain and your non-conscious brain, subconscious mind only knows one thing. It sees everything as now. So if you live in your past, it keeps reproducing it. If you live in your present, it keeps producing it. If you create a new idea for what you're expecting in the future, it sees it as happening now and it starts to operate. If you start to talk and think and act as if you're wealthy, it starts to produce opportunities for you to create wealth, to live in wealth. If you start to expect and build in an idea that's built around improving your marriage, starting a business, and you see it and you create this unbelievably vivid vision, your brain will create that. And then it will start to identify through the reticular activating system. It will filter out everything else except for what you're focusing on. And it will bring you, if you sit up and say, I'm going to be successful in business, it'll bring you every book, every lecturer, every opportunity, all different business models, all of that stuff will just start popping up. It's always been there, but it's never been your focus. And because your non-conscious brain can process 400 billion bits of information per second, and your conscious mind can only process 2,000 bits, it's filtering out everything that isn't what you think is important or what you focus on. So what you're focusing on is the only thing that it's allowing to get in and allow you to process. You got to change your focus. When you change your focus and when you identify something, the reticular activating system starts to filter out all the other stuff and starts to find the things that support that are associated with that, because it sees it's important to you. When you sit up and focus on all the negative things in your life, you're actually telling your reticular activating system that that's important to you. It can't determine whether you like it or not. It just knows you keep talking about it. It knows you keep focusing on it. So sitting up saying a million times, I don't want to be broke, is not going to work the way you think it will. It's going to lead to that broke thing being the #1 focus of your brain. Remember, your self-talk is going to be the program that your supercomputer, your brain, runs. That's it. I got to get out of here. For those who want to take steps at doing things, there's a link to a course that I created some time ago that has proven to be quite effective. It's called The Power of Paradigms. You need to learn how to create paradigm shifts. You need to be able to identify negative thought patterns, identify negative beliefs, change and shift those, and create and replace them. It's a process that's not that difficult. It requires commitment. And the application of massive action on a consistent basis. Consistency is huge. Once again, I thank you guys for stopping in. I hope that you really and truly commit to doing what it takes to get to the next level. Everybody has a next level, and when you get to that level, there's another one after it. You're always supposed to be growing. You never arrive. You are never where you could possibly be. And that's the wonderful thing about it. There's always something to shoot for. That's living to me. It's shooting for something. Yes, getting there is awesome, and that's something I'm fighting to get through with this current challenge. The thing is, again, I never become frenetic and unglued because I simply know that pattern says this. I just have to keep pushing until I get it. And the same thing with you. Again, I would love to work with you. That can happen too. So if you're ready for life change, check out the Power Paradigms course or contact me directly and we can talk about working together. But whatever you do, this is the time for change. It's time for you to explore the possibilities associated with the infinite potential that rests inside you. With that, I'm out of here. As I always say, I'm going to down E. I'm challenging you to do the same thing. Peace.